Welcome to Telugu One Academy. Continuing with our constitutional bodies, today we have Comptroller and Auditor General, which is a very important constitutional body, very important body, which is protection of public purse of Government of India and state governments as well. So, Comptroller and Auditor General from Article 148 to 151. So, these four articles 148, 149, 150 and 151. These four articles under the Constitution gives the office of Comptroller and Auditor General, duties and responsibilities of Comptroller and Auditor General, and the forms of accounts and audits given by the CAG to the President, what type of form one need to maintain with them, that is one article, and audit reports, the reports of the audits and the accounts of the office which is to be submitted to the President if it belongs to the central government and to the Governor if it is concerned with the state governments. So, from Article 148 to 151 tells about the office of CAG, Comptroller and Auditor General of India. So, here in this class we would be discussing how the CAG office is established, what are the various duties and functions of the CAG, the office of the CAG, the qualifications, conditions of office, salaries and emoluments, what are the various functions regarding both central government and state government, and the nature of the CAG, how this office has become very much important when it is concerned to the public finance or purse of the country. So, in this class we will be discussing the role of CAG. So, here just to introduce the Comptroller and Auditor General, one thing we need to understand is the word CAG, that is Comptroller and Auditor General. It's office of British. When Britishers were ruling us, we had Comptroller and Auditor General. But there is a difference between CAG of India and CAG of Britain. In India, CAG doesn't control public purse. So, though we have the nomenclature of Comptroller, but in fact CAG in India do not have any authority or power to control the expenditure part of the public finances. So, when we compare CAG office of Britain to India, in Britain, in British, the CAG is both Comptroller and Auditor General. That is, the CAG has the power on both expenditure of the finances also. That is, CAG in Britain controls the public purse, that is expenditure part also. But in India, we have CAG only auditing the accounts. So, we have both accounts and audits, two different parts. After 1976, when we had a separate scheme, that is departmentalization of accounts, CAG has relieved the duties or the power to maintain accounts of central government. At present, CAG is just an Auditor General and he audits the accounts of both central government and state government and also of various other entities, corporations prescribed by the President. And CAG maintains accounts of only state governments. So, after 1976, CAG has relieved the function of maintaining accounts of central government. This is one important point. We would be expecting question on this area. So, here Article 148 of the Constitution says that there has to be a office of CAG, that is Comptroller and Auditor General. It is a very independent office. Independent here in sense, as we know, there is no minister representing the CAG in the Parliament or in a democratic system, we do not have any minister which represents the office of the CAG. So here Comptroller and Auditor General of India is an independent office. It's an independent authority under the Constitution, and Parliament also given lot of power to the CAG, because as we know, finance is the lifeline of any country. So when the government comes up with various policies, welfare policies or developmental policies, they need a lot of fund to execute such programs. And wherever there is a fund, wherever there is a question of expenditure, then there may be a lot of discrepancies, there may be a lot of diversions regarding the expenditure or spending of the funds. So in this case, the CAG becomes the protector of the funds of the country, that is the revenue of the country. So we call this office as a protector of public finances. There may be a lot of diversions, there may be a lot of corruption regarding this expenditure of the government on various policies and programs. So here CAG will ensure that all those funds generated by the government or spent by the government should reach that program or policy. There is no chance of diversion of such funds. And that is the reason why Dr. B.R. Ambedkar has called this office as a very important office under the Constitution. And one more thing is, CAG is the head of the Audit and Accounts Department. Indian Audit and Account Services, we have a separate service, Indian Audit and Account Service, IAAS. This service, this department is headed by the CAG. So when we say CAG is the guardian of the public purse, we have many things, like we have Consolidated Fund of India, we have Contingency Fund of India, we have Public Accounts of India at union level, and we also have Consolidated Fund of the State, Contingency Fund of the State, and Public Accounts of States at state level. So at union level, these funds are managed by the president. These are under the president. And at state level, the Consolidated Fund of the State, the Public Accounts of the State, Contingency Fund of the State is under the governor, that is the head of the state. So here the CAG is the protector of the public purse, that is the guardian of the public purse. Anything which is coming to the Consolidated Fund of India or spent from the Consolidated Fund of India are to be accounted So they are to be maintained very in a logical manner, and all these accounts has to be audited, so that there need to be a check on the public purse. So at both center and state level, the entire financial system of the country is protected or is guarded by the CAG. So the CAG is a very important office regarding the public finances. When we say public finances, public purse, it is the money which is collected by the Government of India or the money which is spent by the Government of India on various policies and programs. So it's an all India character, because as we know, it's a constitutional body, and as we know, we have a single constitution common to both center and the states. So CAG under Article 148 is a constitutional body, and it has an all India character. Here when we say all India character, we have one single office of CAG common for both center and the states as well. So what are the duties of CAG? So we have a very varied functions, very complex work of CAG, because we have a very vast democratic country. We have many state, and our country is a federal in character. So, and we have a single office of CAG at union level. So obviously we have a lot of functions, lot of responsibilities given to the office of CAG. And as we know, CAG is an independent office. As we have just discussed, no minister represents CAG in the parliament, and parliament also has a process, like from appointment of the CAG to his removal, there is a process. So though we say that CAG is appointed by the president under his warrant and seal, but the CAG cannot be removed by the president at his will and wish. There is a process. As we know, as a removal of Supreme Court judge, the same procedure is followed here in the removal of CAG also. Before going that, the main duty of the CAG is to uphold the constitution. See, when we say CAG is a constitutional body, CAG is a constitutional body under Article 148. The primary duty of any constitutional authority is to uphold, to protect the constitution. Whatever the duties and responsibilities they are assigned, they have to be done in the interest of the people, not against the constitution. All these constitutional bodies has their independent role to play, but within the limits, within the boundaries of the constitution. So when the CAG also takes oath, he will take oath on the constitution. So he will protect the constitution, he'll uphold the values of the constitution. So he upholds the Constitution of India and law of the parliament, because parliament has been given power by the constitution itself. Constitution has given power to the parliament to make rules regarding the functions and duties of the CAG. So time to time the parliament can also come up with various functions, various duties depending upon the changing circumstances, and the CAG has to uphold the laws of the parliament. So every detail is not mentioned in the constitution. Constitution has given power to the parliament to make law related to the duties and responsibilities of the CAG. And Dr. B.R. Ambedkar has called the CAG as a very important office under Constitution of India. Others being very important office, when we say bulwark of the democratic system. When we say bulwark, it is the protector of the democratic system. So other important offices being Supreme Court, UPSC and Election Commission. So these four are important offices under the Constitution of India, and the CAG is one of those four pillars, other being the Election Commission of India, the Supreme Court and the UPSC, that is a central recruiting agency which upholds the merit system. And CAG upholds the financial system of the country. The CAG is assigned with the work to protect and guard the public purse. So as we say, CAG is one of the bulwarks of the Indian offices, that is Indian democratic system. The others being the Supreme Court of India, Election Commission and the UPSC. So how the CAG is appointed? As we all know, the constitutional authorities are appointed by the president. President will appoint obviously on the recommendations of the highest executive body, that is the cabinet. Cabinet, as we know, in parliamentary form of system, cabinet is the highest executive body, that is the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister. We have a selection committee there. The Prime Minister's leadership will select a person eligible for such offices, and President of India will appoint the CAG under warrant, under hand and seal. That is, there is a special provision here. President will appoint the CAG under his warrant and seal. But this doesn't mean that President can remove the CAG at any time. Though we have a removal process similar to the removal of Supreme Court judge and other constitutional dignitaries. Here the CAG is removed by a process, that is, on that issue there will be a bill placed in either house of the parliament, and both the houses of the parliament should pass such removal bill by special majority. When we say special majority, it is not 2/3 of the majority. And more than 50%, that is half of the total number of the house should approve that. So we have a removal process also. Before that, we have an oath taken by the CAG. Because these are very important constitutional body and very important role to play in the democratic system. These constitutional authorities would take an oath in front of the appointing authority. The oath is here mentioned in third schedule of the Constitution. All the oaths are mentioned in the third schedule, and CAG also takes oath. CAG will take oath to protect the Constitution, to protect the law of the Parliament, to have integrity, to protect the integrity of the nation. So all these oaths and affirmations are also undertaken by the CAG. When we say term of CAG, as we know, appointment is done by the president under his warrant and seal. When we say term of the CAG, it is also fixed by the Constitution. The CAG will hold office for a term of 6 years. This is important. The CAG will hold office for a term of 6 years, or until the CAG reaches the age of 65 years. So we have a fixed tenure here. Fixed tenure doesn't mean that the CAG will continue for 6 years. There is a process of removal. So the CAG can also removed by the process, as we have mentioned, a parliamentary process on the basis of misbehavior. On the basis of misbehavior or incapacity, the CAG can also be removed in between, that is before completion of his 6 years of term. So 6 years is not fixed in no other conditions, in any extraordinary conditions. Otherwise, the CAG will have office for 6 years or until he reaches the age of 65 years. We can also expect a question here. So generally, we generally get confused that most of the offices are have a time period of 5 years, but CAG has a term period of 6 years. Another important question here is CAG is not not made to work in other offices after a retirement. That is, once the CAG completes the term of 6 years, he is ineligible. He is ineligible to work further. So under Government of India or Government of state or any other entity where there is an involvement of the government, the CAG is not eligible. The CAG is not eligible for further appointments. That is one thing. And as we said, though they have a term of 6 years, the CAG can resign anytime. Generally, what happens is, why would the CAG resign? There may be a lot of political pressure, or the job what the CAG is taking up may be inconsistent with the morality of the CAG. So generally the CAG may also resign on various grounds. That is, before completion of the 6 years, the CAG can be removed by the parliamentary process, or the CAG can resign himself by giving his resignation letter to the President of India. So as President is the appointing authority, President has appointed the CAG, the resignation of the CAG is also handed over to the President. As we said, one is resigning and other thing is remove. Removal is based on these two aspects, that is proved misbehavior. Proved misbehavior is very big term. Here he may be involved in some acts of corruption or favoritism or nepotism, or maybe incapacity, or incapacity in sense the CAG may not be doing his work properly up to the expectations of the Government of India. So on the basis of these two things, he can be removed by the process. That is, the resolution for such removal should be passed by the Parliament. That is, when we say by the Parliament, both houses of the Parliament, both Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha. If the resolution is introduced in the Rajya Sabha, it has to be passed by special majority, that is 2/3 of the majority with 50% of the total membership of the house. And once the resolution is passed in Rajya Sabha, then it is again has to be passed in Lok Sabha. So both the houses of the Parliament should pass such a resolution of a removal by a process. We have a process on basis of proved misbehavior and incapacity. So these two terms of important. Other than this, there is no basis for his removal. So we have to remember few things. One is the CAG is appointed by the president under his warrant and seal. The CAG is no, he can resign at any time by giving his resignation letter to the president. The CAG can also be removed from office before expiry of his term of 6 years by a parliamentary process of removal, which is similar to the removal of Supreme Court judge on the basis of these two things, that is proved misbehavior and incapacity. It's generally a very complex process. It's not that easy to remove constitutional authorities, because it's not by simple majority, it's by special majority. As we know, special majority is getting 2/3 of the majority in passing such a resolution is generally a tedious process. So we generally expect that removal of CAG is not easy. It has to have a large majority in the parliament. And that is the reason why we have given such an importance to the office of CAG, because he is under a lot of pressure when he audits the expenditures of central government or state government, because governments would come and go, but previous government audit can also be checked by the CAG. As we know, CAG, that is Comptroller Auditor General of India, is the only authority to audit the accounts of both central government and state government. So it would take a lot of time. After the expenditure, after the money is spent, it could take 2 years, 3 years or more than that to audit such accounts. Meanwhile, the government may also change, but the process of audit is a continuous process. So he might be in a lot of pressure, or there may be allegations on CAG also. So all these, the nature of the job what CAG have should have a protection of the constitution, and that is the reason why we say the CAG is an independent office. No minister represents the CAG in the parliament, and also the removal of CAG is also very complex. That is, the resolution should be passed by special majority in both the houses on the basis of proved misbehavior and incapacity. That is, he is removed on the same grounds as the judge of the Supreme Court. He can also be removed by the president through a process, not at the will and wish of the president. And these are the things why we say the CAG is an independent office, given a lot of authority, power to have a check on the spending of the governments, both central and state governments as well. So what are the things which have given the independency to the Comptroller and Auditor General? One is security of tenure. Obviously, as we said, we have 6 years of tenure. We have fixed tenure of CAG, and removal is also difficult. And that is one thing why we say he is an independent authority in the Constitution of India. Second thing is not eligible for further office. This is a one very important thing. We need to remember this. CAG is not eligible. Once the CAG completes the tenure of 6 years as a constitutional authority, he is not further eligible for any office under any government. This makes CAG as very independent, because once there is no chance of further appointment, he would generally doesn't come under any pressure or any lure by the political parties. What if he is eligible? Generally what happens is some political parties would lure these people with some good post or some good appointments in further, like we have making him as a governor of some state, or directly giving him place in a parliament, maybe in Rajya Sabha, or any nominations to any other post. But here the CAG is not under such pressure, and once he knows, the CAG knows that he is not going to have further appointments in future, he is not under any pressure or he would be not considering any sort of nepotism and all. So he is very independent regarding his office. So he is not eligible for further office. This may be also a probable question. CAG is not eligible once the CAG completes his tenure, he is not eligible for further appointment. And salaries, when we say salaries and other emoluments are determined by the parliament. Once the CAG is appointed, whatever is the salary and other emoluments at that time are not diminished, that is, are not modified in the disadvantage of such office. The salaries may be hiked, but it should not be diminished, or the emoluments or the service things whatever the CAG enjoys at that time should not be modified at the disadvantage of such office. So salaries and other emoluments are determined by the parliament, here determined by the parliament, not by the president, because president may determine such salaries on the aid and advice of the council of ministers headed by the prime minister, but here they are determined by the parliament. And for the determination of salary and other service conditions, parliament has to come up with a special procedure. That is, it has to introduce a resolution in the parliament, and such resolutions should also get passed by majority in the parliament. So that is not that easy to change the salaries and other emoluments of CAG. And one important thing here is the salaries are charged on the Consolidated Fund of India. When we say charged on the Consolidated Fund of India, anything related to the salaries and other emoluments or expenditures of the CAG are not voted in the parliament. They are not there is no chance of debating or voting in the parliament regarding the salaries of such constitutional dignitaries. When we say charged on the Consolidated Fund of India, every time the salaries, every month the salaries should be given to such dignitaries without any discussion on that. When we say there might be any financial emergencies also, but their salaries will not be stopped at any point of time. So salaries and other remittances or emoluments or service matters are determined by the parliament. Whatever the case may be regarding his salary, pensions or any other things are charged on the Consolidated Fund of India. And one thing is administrative powers. When we say administrative powers, because president is the appointing authority of the CAG, and whatever audit reports under Article 151, audit reports given by the CAG to the president concerned with central government and to the governor concerned with state government. So all these administrative powers are also decided by the constitution. We have a constitution under Article 151 regarding the submission of reports to the president or to the governor. So because we have a constitutional authority and administrative powers given to such office of CAG, so the President of India will look into the matters regarding the administrative powers. That is, the President will at any time can assign more powers to the CAG, or the President can ask to look into the auditions or accounts of some agencies depending upon the requirement of the time. So as we said, the salaries and emoluments are charged upon the Consolidated Fund of India. Hope you understand what is charged on the Consolidated Fund of India. When we say charged, there is no voting in the parliament on the subject of their salaries or emoluments. And when we say again independence, no minister represents the CAG in both the houses. So he is a very independent officer under the Government of India, under the Constitution of India, who is independent, that is, who acts autonomously under any no pressure. He acts autonomously, and we say we have a very important parliamentary committee. We have a parliamentary committee which is represented by the CAG. We have a public accounts committee. For public accounts committee, CAG is like friend, guide and philosopher. CAG acts as a friend, guide and philosopher for the Public Accounts Committee. This committee is very important related to the public finances of the nation. So here the CAG would also act as a friend, guide and philosopher to such committee. So this was the CAG, very important constitutional authority. Thank you for watching my video.